Hello, viewers. Today we have with us Miss Devangana Mishra. She's the CEO and founder of Brain Bristle, a think tank that works for kids on the spectrum of autism. Welcome, Devangana.
This is super exciting. Thank you for having me on your channel. This is just really lovely. Thank you.
No, pleasure is all ours. Tell me a little about yourself first, Devangana.
So I am Devangana Mishra. When I was 20, I went to study. When I was 21, I went to study autism and intellectual disabilities and neurosciences at Teachers College, Columbia University in New York. Because I'd kind of grown up playing with a lot of kids who had Down syndrome, autism, other such needs, and I just hung out with them, taught them, they taught me. We did all of that, and then I met a boy who just couldn't function because of his autism. And I was so young that it just made me very anxious. So I went and I studied autism, and I'm a writer also. So I've been teaching writing. I've been teaching art for the last 15 years. But for the
Okay.
last 15 years, I've worked with children on the spectrum of autism, taught them everything, right from history to politics to science to advanced maths, Buddhism, psychology, everything. So
But
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
but tell me, before you started this Brain Bristle,
hmm,
we'll talk about Brain Bristle, how it came into being. But
yeah.
how were you in touch with the kids with autism before that?
So I've been a teacher for children on the spectrum of autism across New York. Then I was in Delhi for a little bit. I worked with a few hospitals. Then I was in Indonesia at a really good school for 4 years where I was a teacher. Indonesia for 4 years where I again like helped with inclusion and worked with kids on the spectrum. And then I was in Hong Kong for 3 years. And then I moved to India and I was on the leadership team of Teach for India for 3 years, and then I launched Brain Bristle.
So, what was the trigger behind launching it? Since you were already working with the children with autism, so why did you
Yeah.
want to have your own platform?
So, as a teacher, you run your own classroom, which means you do what you think is best. And that's what I'd done for all my 15 years of working with children. And then when I kind of came to India, I started looking at what else is happening in the space of autism. And somehow, not a lot of it resonated with me. So I thought it's high time that I actually start my own little think tank, and let's see where it goes. So it's just about a year and a half long in India, but I'm hoping to create what I did with my classrooms, which was just excellent education and intelligence and disruption.
That means you were not happy with what was being done here in India when you compared it with where you have the places you had worked.
That is right. That is right.
Huh.
And the kind of work
So,
I'd done, I didn't see that being done in the space of autism. Yeah.
okay. So, in the last 1 year since you've been in the space, what all activities have you been doing through the Brain Bristle?
So just children who kind of, so what I always do is it's not just specifically for brain bristle, but children with autism, we sometimes make it's almost like if somebody's been paralyzed, they might choose euthanasia, or they might choose to like never get on a wheelchair, or we might kind of like take them to Switzerland and get the best mechanism in place so that they start walking and then running and then like actually like heal into a normal life. So that's kind of like my approach towards autism. I don't focus too much on what's not working. I keep thinking about what can we do, what permutations and combinations can we put in place to make it work. So kids who couldn't hold a pencil are now writing and are now creating art, and are reading text at their level. So instead of me actually trying to put them into a vocation कि चलो दिया बनाओ कि factory में जाके box करो कि become like a computer पे बैठ के billing karo, like actually get into an education. So that's what I do. Till the time they're
Okay,
18,
but
I don't do anything else. Yeah.
okay, and how many kids are there with you? And also tell me about your team. I suppose you must be having a team of educators.
Actually, I'm like a nervous perfectionist. Autism is a very
Okay.
difficult subject. So for 3 years when I was at Columbia, in New York. I studied the subject while being watched by top professors and university mentors. And after that, I was given a license to actually start working in the space of autism. So at the moment, I just have one person who helps me with advocacy and emails and, like, just managerial stuff. But I directly teach
Okay.
children on the spectrum. Yeah.
Okay. And how many kids are there with you?
At the moment, I've got 4 kids. And I'm also
Oh,
picky about how many I can manage with my mentor, because it's a lot of patience. Today, this morning, I had a
yeah.
kid with a big meltdown, and he was trying to stab himself. So it takes a lot
Okay.
for every session. So I'm mindful of how many kids I take.
Okay. So for how many hours are there, the kids are there with you a day?
So I do about 75 to 90 minute sessions, like their
Okay.
classes, and they're 3 to 4 times a week per kid.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. So when you compare India with the abroad, with the West and the Europe, how do you see the perception about autism among in the society, among the government bodies?
Yeah. So I'm going to
Yeah.
try and explain this. This is a little difficult
Uh-huh.
to explain, but what happens in the space of autism is when you've got somebody who starts to learn, who starts to study, who starts to do well in the space of autism, that means they're reading and they're writing. Instead of putting them into education, what we start doing is we start focusing on them doing autism advocacy, uh, disability rights, inclusion rights. What I do is I'm like, forget about all of that. Focus on yourself. Focus on becoming, getting into like politics and art and writing, and maybe writing fiction books, or like I'm like, don't focus so much on policies around autism and inclusion and disabilities and all of that, because that's what happens in the best of places. Focus on your life and your career. So that's what I'm trying to do, and it's very difficult, but let's see where it goes.
No,
It's
what I'm asking is from the how do you compare India
and
vis-a-vis West or
that's
vis-a-vis
exactly what's
Europe?
happening. So what would happen in a Europe is, so suppose Rajkumar, you come from, like, like suppose my father or somebody's parent comes from deep poverty, child marriage. They've seen all of that, and then somehow they get educated and they go into the school system and they start to do well, instead of becoming rich and living a good life and living the best that they can. What sometimes they start doing is they start fighting for child marriage and poverty
Yeah,
eradication and all of that, right? That's
yeah.
exactly what's happening in Europe and America and many places in the space of autism. They become activists and advocates rather than becoming famous writers and artists and
Okay,
musicians and dancers and all of that, because that's what I try to do.
okay. You want them to take care of themselves first rather than doing other things.
Exactly. It's like you they have a choice that you can become the next best-selling artist or author. But what they try to do is they become autism advocates. And I'm like, beta, like, focus on your life. And that's what's happening in the world. And the government kind of promotes that, because this thing is, from the government side, they sometimes promote these children going in the direction, even in Europe, even in America, they becoming activists and advocates, because then government money can be put into that cause, and it's all like working towards like autism speaks and all of that. And what I try to do is I'm like, go become like the next Shashi Tharoor, go become the next Malala, right? Like, that's a lot better use of your energy and passion. That's it.
And perhaps because the government is more focused towards the larger aspects of it, that may be perhaps the reason why we are not having more of Einsteins, more of Ramanujans.
Exactly. Like, it's almost like a Dalit person who's faced exclusion all and oppression and problems. They have a choice to grow up, fight through all of that oppression, and become like join start Dalit desk and fight for that. I don't think that's wrong at all. I think that's fabulous. But they also have a choice to become the next Narendra Modi, right? Like, what I'm saying is, It's always about making choices in what you stand for and what you care about and how you're going to live your life.
Hmm. You mean to
Yeah.
say that you want them to become examples first and then do anything else,
And I'm not
right?
saying that they might not be an example if they become activists, but sometimes a more interesting path for them is to go with the flow rather than against the flow.
Okay, okay. So in that space, what are your expect? Do you have some expectations from the government that they should be doing this, they should be doing that?
I don't think I have. I think I have expectations from the government to see, are we moving too much to the right where all autism institutions and centers are doing is thinking about autism rights, autism schools, autism special services, autism dogs, autism therapies. Instead of that, can we think about educators in the space of autism? How do we teach them in a way that we actually start to keep pushing these kids towards mainstream rather than towards creating their own stream? So
Okay.
that's my hope from the government, that they work on the system of autism to push it towards as much mainstream as possible,
Get more educators into that.
and get those educators strong enough to be able to push the current this way rather than push the current that way, because that's what educators are currently doing.
Mhm. But why do you think that? Why do you think that autism is still? It's a not. It's not something which is readily accepted by the parents, by the society. I've seen parents still hiding these. If their child has an issue, they will hide it. They will not talk
It is.
about it, or they will try to normalize it by putting the child in a normal school, and then the
Yeah.
child faces a lot of issues, all those things.
So, at a very basic level, of so that everyone understands, about 60, 70 years ago, till about 60, 70 years ago, we didn't want a daughter born in our families, right? Like parents,
Yeah.
they like we used to kill daughters. It's almost like, if you actually think about it, because raising a daughter was hard. You had to give dowry. You had to be worried about her all the time, about her safety, about her dignity, about her grace, all of that. It's kind of similar, very like parallel in that, in the space of autism. It is very difficult to raise a child on the spectrum of autism, because you just don't know what will trigger them, what will throw a tantrum, what will do what. So it's very complicated, and I think the job is not of the parents, but the job is of the educators to just be really like responsible and strong to make sure you're doing the best.
But the parents, I feel the parents have to first accept that.
Huh.
I know of a family where they literally hit the child.
Yeah, yeah,
That was very
totally,
sad. So
totally.
I think the first part lies with the parents.
It does, but like, because I work with these kids every day, it's very exhausting to be a parent of a child on the spectrum. That the child is just very difficult. You're so desperate for that child to just be normal and do normal things, and you can't understand why aren't they doing it.
So do you counsel parents also? Do you hold sessions for them?
I don't. I just like, I almost find it disrespectful in my profession to interfere with parenting. I'm just like, no one told my parents how to parent me. So I don't have the authority to do that. But I just tell parents, "कि please class में ले आना, I'll do my best. उसके बाद जो करना है घर पे
Okay.
जाके करो."
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So since you're working with autism since long, do you have any numbers in India, like how many children are
So
there?
officially, I last read, one out of every 100 under 10-year-olds is diagnosed on the spectrum of autism. But globally, the numbers that we're seeing right now is one out of every 58 to 76 kids is diagnosed on the spectrum of autism.
So that is quite a
It
number.
is. It is. It's a large. If the Diagnostic Statistic Manual 5, which is the DSM-5, has shown, it's the most rapidly rising rate that we're seeing.
Why do you think is it rising like that?
I think whenever. There's a lot of reasons. I think number one is, what is the intervention that we are putting into the child on the spectrum of autism? Because the more pressure we put on the child, the more they're going to act out. It's almost like how science works. Like if somebody keeps telling me idhar aao, idhar aao, idhar aao, idhar aao, I will not want to come. I want to do the opposite thing, no? So it's like we're putting, because autism has now been diagnosed, we're putting a lot of pressure on these children and they're acting out, and the more they're acting out, the more exaggerated the word autism has become. And I think, and then we're trying to like turn them into advocates, and we're fighting for inclusion key. So what if this child is acting out, have empathy? So we're putting them out there on the screen and saying that, this is our sweet child, please have sympathy for him. So it's a lot of activism going on in this space, which is just suffocating the space. And I think the numbers will
Okay.
keep rising till the time we
Uh-huh.
don't lay back a little bit. We just gotta lay back.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And what age should at what age is a child the autism can be detected in the child, and
Uh,
what age do you think the intervention should start?
I think anywhere between 9 months to 2 years is a good age for the child to be diagnosed, and around 2 to 3 years, you should get the child in a regular norm. I have a friend. I was just telling him, you would get your child in a regular inclusive school, and yeah, that's it.
So you think that when the intervention begins early on, the kids have a better chances of being mainstreamed?
Yeah,
Huh. How much
definitely.
time do you think a normal regular autistic child takes to begin accomplishing things on his own?
It depends from child to child, but what I've seen is within a year or 2 or 3 of regular school and excellent education, excellent intervention, you can start to see some massive shifts in a child, in them getting things done, and them having opinions, and then having a sense of humor, doing all of these things.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Now that we observe World Autism Day every April too,
Yeah.
so what do you do as a person working in the field? Do you have some
Nothing.
special
I don't even.
programs or?
No, no, no. I don't like, honestly, I don't understand. I understand Diwali, I understand Christmas, I understand Holi. I don't understand like
I
Women's
was coming
Day.
to that.
Yeah, I don't understand all this. I just
Do you think that these days don't serve any purpose?
I think they do. Like everyone now suddenly will, like, I have 10 articles to write and I have three interviews to give. Everyone now is talking about autism, but other than that, I don't think they like, they just
serve
like,
serve
it's a
any
birthday.
purpose?
It's like a birthday, no? Ki everyone will suddenly give attention to a person. It's like everyone gives attention to a cause.
Okay, okay. So, in your work so far that you've done, is there a particular case that you would want to talk about which you were thrilled with your work, the results which showed?
But that's why after 15 years I launched my own think tank. But lots and lots of cases. I don't name my kids because I don't even know if they want to like
That's
now
fine.
say this.
That's fine.
Like maybe they don't want to tell people they're on the spectrum of autism. But I had a kid who, let's call him John. He used to only like moderately on the spectrum of autism. He he had no friends, so what he'd done was he learned all movie dialogues. So like these kids can read, most of them can read and write and speak, but they don't know what to read and what to write and how to speak. So he had
Okay.
ruttered a lot of movie dialogues, which like out of place he'd say to anybody, kuch bhi, like, how you doing? I'm doing fine. Like just like he'd practice it constantly, and then kids would catch him practicing movie dialogues and like they'd make fun of him. And then what I did was I got him into my class, and like we just got him in a conversation. We started debating politics, we started debating Christianity, we started debating things like MMA boxing, UFC boxing, and just like the learned ruttered movie dialogues turned into this conversation. He'd be like, no, Miss D, I think you're incorrect. I don't think that's right. And then we just like came like buddies because we started talking about things. I'm like, what do you want to do in life? Don't you want to earn money? And then
Mm,
my ex-boyfriend used to run his own little sandwich shop bakery, so I got him to like
okay.
come and help with running that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is when he was in ninth grade, and now he's in college. He's studying theater and dramatics and literature.
Are you still in touch with your ex students?
I'm not in like they're all on my social media, so I keep seeing everything that they're doing, and if they're doing anything but easy, like I'll go and like or I'll comment on their posts,
Okay.
and
Okay.
they never reply to me.
Okay. So when you
Yeah,
look back at your journey, what do you feel?
and this is like I can't do anything else. Like in my life,
Uh,
these kids
uh,
are what keeps me alive and active, and they give me a
mm,
reason to wake up every Monday and work and do what I do. I just love it.
okay. And going forward, where do you see yourself? What more would you want to do?
So I don't care much for advocacy. I don't care much for activism and all of that. I have four
Mm,
kids right now. I'm hoping to
mm,
grow up to 20 kids and start
mm,
a small school, like two
mm,
floors of a really cool penthouse kind of a thing in Bombay with 20
mm,
kids, and I'll teach them.
mm,
Well, I'm a dancer and I'm a writer, so
mm,
I'll teach them dance and history and politics and drama and
mm, mm,
geography and science.
mm,
And that's
mm,
it. Like that's the maximum I ever want to scale, and that's
mm.
my goal. And see what those
Okay.
20 kids can do.
Huh. Okay, while you told me that you are not in favor of advocacy and all that, I'll still ask you a question that would you want to like spread out more across India? And so
Yeah.
maybe not for opening centers, for holding workshops or spreading awareness about it?
Sure. Like many times every teacher comes and every educator comes with their own very strong point of view on the subject, and I totally
Mm,
respect that. That's why I'm not a big fan of advocacy, because I don't think anybody is wrong, but if you think
mm,
you're right, then go and create proof, because that's what scientists do, that's what teachers do. If you think you're going in the right direction, go and create proof points. So I'm happy to hold workshops. I've done a
mm.
lot of conferences and workshops,
Okay.
but it's not to like disrespect anyone in this space, because that just makes me uncomfortable.
So you do only in Mumbai or you move out also?
No, I right now I'm just in Bombay, but I've gone to Davos, to the World Economic Forum. I've been to
Okay.
Kuala Lumpur,
Okay.
Singapore, world over for conferences to present.
Okay. Okay. But Mumbai is the only place you would want to work.
That's right.
You never want to go back to US or Switzerland or no.
No, no, no. And now I love
This
India.
is
Like I moved to India and I'm just like I'm home. So yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. ठीक है. So anything, any message you would want to share?
I think it's for
Say
any
for
field.
viewers.
I think it's for any field. Whatever you're doing, however small you're doing, just do it दिल लगा के मन लगा के best. Sometimes हम
Mm-hmm.
दिखावे में बहुत फंस जाते हैं, असली काम नहीं करते, and I feel like I don't care who's looking at
Mm-hmm.
me, who's not looking at me, but like दिल लगा के I do such hard good work that even the kids get emotional. They're like, Mr. Wagner, don't work so hard. I'm just like,
Okay.
and they're like, yeah, we love you too. So I think that my only message is, if you're an actor, if you're a singer, if you're anything, just like put your everything into it. Because then galti bhi karoge to it's forgiven.
Okay.
That's,
Okay.
that's
ठीक
it.
है. Yeah. Thank you so much, Devangana, for talking to
Thank
us.
you.
It
Thank you.
was pleasure talking to you,
Thank you
and
so
all the
much.
best
Thank
for your
you.
future. And
Thank
I
you.
hope you get your 20 kids soon.
Thank you. Lots and lots of
Thank you.
lots of gratefulness. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you.
Bye.